Happy Saturday evening. But if you're watching this show Central Standard Time, your Saturday probably didn't go quite the way that you had planned. With you guys this evening, hope everything is going fantastic. No, so a couple of one of those common questions, I should say, basically goes something like this, and I'll keep going back to this on fairly regular. Anyway, let me get to the point. How much horsepower will this or that modification get me? How much horsepower will the tune get me? What can I expect to get out of my car if I do this, that, and this? It's funny because the recipe that folks are looking for typically doesn't really quite go as planned, at least when they get into buying the mods, buying the different parts, the different kit, whatever guys are out there getting for their cars. This bleeds into camshafts and intakes and intake manifolds. The problem is that a lot of the testing that I've done has any claims of gains from manufacturers. That's one of the reasons why I'm looking for sponsorships, because the only products that I've ever found, at least, that are, known worthy dollar for value modifications, they're few and far between. Hey, we got some guys checking in. Michael Corleone checking in with the fist. I like it. Dimitri's checking in and said, hey, B. Mark Corleone said, hoping you went live. Yes, we are live. A little bit later this evening, but I don't know. Better late than never, right? But no, tonight just talking about some of the mods that I know have actually worked on various cars. It's not just Mopars. Stuff doesn't work the way that the old stuff, meaning older combinations. Mike's checking in. I like it. Why is it that modification? I guess to the point of all of this, I'm kind of falling upstairs here. Where I'm going with this chat tonight is basically, why is it that mods don't really do anything to modern vehicles? Well, first and foremost, you got to remember that cars back in the day, what I mean by back in the day, this doesn't really even go back that far. The modern era, if you want to call it that, in other words, sequential multi-port fuel-injected cars, goes back to basically 1988 with some of the L98 engines. That's GM. You can talk about the HO50s from Ford. Those are kind of some good places to start if you want to start talking about modern era engines, in that they are computer controlled. I really don't want to talk about the carbureted stuff too much, because there's just you're talking about some transitional technology there. So anyway, older multi-port fuel injection, multi-point fuel injection, however you want to play it, those engines were still basically just boat anchors in terms of power per displacement, or output for displacement. Modern engines are just not like that. So making something make more power when it's nowhere near its maximum capacity, in terms of metallurgy, RPM, head flow, any of that kind of stuff, if you're nowhere near your max capacity like those engines weren't back then, it's easy to get power out of them. Higher flowing heads, better flowing intake manifold, and you could pick up huge percentages in power. It's not like that. Modern engines are pretty well capped out. Let me check in just real quick. Dimitri's saying, so I just sold my brass monkey wheels for $1,500. Should I get a drag pack setup or tune for the trans first? Well, those things are going to go hand in hand. You can't really tune the trans unless you're on a drag pack at the drag strip, and you really need a very well prepped drag strip to do it properly. So I would say, if you've got an extra set of wheels sitting around, run those, get you a drag pack if you want that trans tune to be dialed in just perfectly. The reason for that is if you get any tire slip, you're going to get early shifting, and it's going to play havoc with your trans tuning session. I can tell you that by through experience. Lots of it too. Dimitri's also saying, I already have the 20-inch 305/35 Mickey Thompson ET Streets on there, but I think the front skinnies and the 18-inch in back would really help. Absolutely they will. Absolutely, and we're about to have an earthquake. I knew it. I caught it. Aha. Hang on, y'all. Hang on. The rig trying to make a damn funny out of this. Time out. Time out. I just reset that too. All right, back to it. Hothead saying, hey, B, what's up, Hothead? Chris Little saying, hey, B, do you know of any place in San Antonio you'd recommend for installs and tunes? Not off the top of my head. Usually the guys from San Antonio bring their cars to Pikes Performance here in Houston. And here it goes again. Timeout. Hold on. Caught it with my Topo Chico. Hang on. Hang on. This is going to be a theme tonight, I think. Timeout. Hang on. Hang on. Let me get this thing fixed. Gosh dang it. Oh, wait. Oh, that's fun if you're watching this. All right, let's try that. Is that better? It'll be better until it falls off the freaking wall again. All right, here we go. Dimitri's saying you got your hood closed again. Picking up on a little bit of an Easter egg there. So since Dimitri called it. So I'm working on a little bit of a tune for the car. I haven't turned it loose on it just yet. Basically, the thing is, I'm doing pretty good with no timing and more or less stock fueling. Working on a tune. Couldn't get the car to the drag strip this weekend for test and tune. They're filming the game show, the Pink's game show, whatever it is. This weekend, I wanted nothing to do with that. Madhouse. Everybody wanting to be on TV. How weird is that, right? Anyway, no, I just haven't had a chance to do any testing with it, but throwing a little bit of timing at it, a little bit of fuel, and we'll see how she responds. But not really sure if I want to turn it loose with it just yet. Fuel quality, by the way, has been a little bit suspect. So I don't know if there's a transition right now from summer grade to winter grade or whatever the case is, but kind of a weird transition right now. I've noticed some things in my data logging where the car's just pulling a little bit more timing due to what would normally be considered false knock, but just a little bit more than normal. So I'm kind of running into a fuel quality issue. So haven't messed with the tune just yet. I am wanting to get it to the track and see if I can drag another tenth out of it just with tuning. That being said, the tune that I'm playing with is not very aggressive at all. As a matter of fact, it's more throwing really no more than a couple of degrees of timing at it. So it's funny, these cars will respond well to that up to a point, and that's the other problem with tuning on these modern supercharged cars. They just keep responding really well, and they'll respond as well as the fuel quality that you have in the tank will allow. So, that's my thoughts on going too aggressive with the thing. Again, this is one of the big things that I harp on. Data log, data log, data log. Monitor that fuel quality. That'll tell you what you can get away with the tune. I put a tune together for it. I just don't feel confident running it. Say what I've seen in data logs that doesn't look too promising, at least right now in this transition period. No, it's not really Pinks. It's a show they put you on stage and you guess which car goes quicker. That's really it. They might have some kind of other thing going on with it. I'm not sure. I am only familiar with the TV show itself. I know they were making their rounds here. It's kind of like, if you guys remember Pastime, it's kind of like Pastime was, but just nowhere near as good. And you saying, I know you told me to have here and just throw some Boostain in. Riff, come on, dude. I'll tell you what, buyer beware. It's funny you say that because I didn't even see your comment when I was talking about me putting the tune on my car with the 93. No joke, man. I mean, I'm messing with a fuel quality, fuel quality issue with mine right now, just with stock timing and a little bit of fuel thrown at it. So just be careful with that. Boostain is also pretty good stuff, but you'd be probably keep a 5-gallon jug of 100 octane around, throw a couple of gallons of true 100 Sunoco in the tank, for example. It would definitely help that situation. And since you're mixing it actually with 91, I'd say get you about 5 gallons worth of 104. Want to make the power, want to make the boost, you've got to be careful with that stuff. So let's see. Oh, he's saying I met somebody at Mopar. Yes, that's true. You can run them and they will be safe for a while. My only thing is, I guess, the reason why I'm such a mother hen about that is that I live at 0 altitude, basically. and which is both a blessing and a curse. You can do more with stock boost. You just have to be careful with what you go after in terms of throwing octane at the thing, because, or throwing boost at the thing, because if you don't have the octane down here in the lower altitudes, that's when these things pop, especially in really, really deep DAs. Just be careful, and would highly recommend data logging, at least short-term knock retard. Make sure you're not getting some ridiculous numbers with that pulley setup. Get out there and have fun with it, man. Be careful, though. Dollar Power saying, Neo Fester, what's up, Donald? Michael Mark saying, how likely do you think an FCA version of the CUDA is to happen? Define CUDA right now, because right now I don't think FCA even knows what CUDA even means. I have heard, and you know, the things that you hear, right? Anyway, CUDA is supposed to be their new flagship hot rod, but I don't know what direction they're going to go. If it's going to be a kind of a smaller, neutered down, not neutered, but just truncated version of the Viper V8 powered, possibly all aluminum NA with a supercharged variant, kind of something to go up against the Vette, something along those lines. That's really the only thing that I've heard of, and that would be the next thing that they'd be coming out with. But as far as CUDA actually goes and what they're going to put into it, man, I've heard a little bit of everything. And there's no guarantee that we're even going to get what we've even been told is coming down the pipeline. There's a lot that's in development right now. There's a lot of ideas getting kicked around, but as far as what's been agreed upon as being the next thing, nobody's talking about it yet, regardless of what anybody says. Let's see. Hemi Mike, have you ever wanted to drive a top fuel? Let's see. Brit Force made NHRA fastest run 336 at 331. That is insane. And yes, I would love to drive a top fuel car. It'd be a freaking dream come true for me. Mike's asking my personal opinion on nitrous. Love it. The only problem with nitrous, though, is that guys have a tendency to go cheap with it. And you forget that there is some care and feeding of your nitrous oxide critters. So make sure you get a full, if you're running it on a modern car, make sure you get a fully integratable controller, one that can feed boost in based on fuel injector duty cycle. Make sure that you can control basically a window switch, wide open throttle switch. You want to make that kit ultra seamless. And then make sure you know and understand proper nitrous protocol, which is when you're not making a pass, shut the bottle off, purge your system, don't leave pressure in the system. Change out your solenoids a minimum of once a year, whether you use the kit or not. All of these things come into play when you're putting together a nitrous system. Standalone, how are you going to feed the fuel to the car? There's all these different things you have to consider when you're putting a kit together. So if it's done the right way, nitrous is a fantastic power adder. And down here, especially where it's hot, it actually makes a lot of sense because for half the year, more than half the year, it's over 85 degrees, which is no fun if you've got boost. When it gets cooler, though, boost weather starts kicking in. Yeah, it's a different story. But for the most part, like I say, nitrous works no matter what. Just make sure that you are not trying to go cheap. You're not dealing with cars from back in the day where you can just hit them with a shot of nitrous, and if you mess up overfeed it or whatever, go a little bit lean, some of the older engines, you wouldn't have as big of a problem. The modern engines are already kind of at solid, brother. But yeah, don't go cheap and you will have a good time with it. Hemihead's asking, do you still advocate installing the Stanky rocker shaft stabilizers and 392s? Yes, I do, especially if you're going to be turning those things up high, especially if you're going to go with that new Holley intake and a camshaft, and you're going to want to spin that thing over 7,000 RPM or at least even over 6,500 RPM repeatedly. I'd say put a set of Stanky tie bars and collars on that thing. That way you keep that valve train stable, especially with the higher spring rates you're going to need for the camshaft. But they're going to be more and more necessary the higher you spin that engine. I don't spin the Hellcat that high, and even the Hellcat at some point is going to get Stankies, no doubt about it. Let's see. Sam Gray was saying, yo, B Mason, what's up, Sam? Riv's saying, so recently at the Mopar shootout, my car started to update right before I did my run. Everybody was upset behind me anyways. Just the first part of the update. After the second part, when I got home, I started the car and it ran like a tractor. It sounded like it was getting way too much air, idling all over the place. And that mine never did that with the other. Think about this. If you're talking about the actual Uconnect where it shuts everything down, everything's got to relearn. But there was a hard relearn, and which might, if you're talking about that part of it, I actually had that happen to me with my truck. But you had to be prompted to do that. So let me know what you're talking about with the update thing. Sam's saying, I've heard a lot about a lot of things with my source in Chrysler, man. Let me know. On the CUDA, it's supposed to be the new flagship hot rod. It's got the devil horns up too. I don't know. And I've been a little bit, I haven't really been following it too much lately. The reason why I haven't been following it too much lately is because nothing's really being published and it's hard to get excited. Not to mention you have the Vet and the GT500 cage match that's been taking place. So that's been a little bit fun to watch too. Let's see, Hemi Head saying, I've been looking hard at the Nitrous outlet Mopar 85mm 6.4 liter Hemi Hardline plate system kit with purge and bottle opener for my Scat Pack. Have any opinions on Nitrous outlet systems? They're awesome and I do recommend their products. Let's see, Sam saying, my favorite is the possible mid-engine DCT and manual Mopar. That would be very cool. You know, they had one, and y'all know this one. Was it the something, which was a really cool looking mid-engine car that they had back in the early 2000s or late 90s, but they never did release it. Bill Ferguson saying, hey, B Mason, just wondering what the best mods for the money would be for a 2016 SRT 392 with a 6-speed. Maybe an occasional pass at the drag strip, mainly just running around on the street. And throttle body for sure. Ported intake manifold, depends on what kind of shape your stock intake manifold's in to begin with, but most of them will benefit from a ported intake manifold. Don't worry about anything with your stock manifolds or catalytic converters, anything like that, but get a solid tune put on the car. Hellcat air box with a Hellcat air filter, and that's going to wrap up the necessary mods, if you want to call them that. Anything other than that, really, you're not going to pick up too much aside from a tire. But throw the diff brace on the car. Performance makes a good one. I run the Extreme brace in this car, and possibly a set of BMR lower trailing arms. Don't have them on this car yet, but they'll probably come at some point. And that's it. That's really where I would start and finish with that setup. I think you'd have a lot of fun with that, especially with the extra throttle response you'll get with that throttle body, along with some settings you can change in the computer. Pick you up a little bit of power, a little bit more crisp throttle response. Oh, and since it's a manual, don't forget to knock out the line mod, the clutch line mod on that car. You will thank me for that. It makes all the difference in the world. There's a reducer orifice in that clutch line that can make shifting gears quickly a little bit of a headache. Get rid of that and you'll be doing just fine. Most guys will pull it apart at the transmission and get a long drywall screw it down in there, pop that restrictor out, put it back together, and you'll be in good shape. Let's see. Dimitri's asking, it did give me a prompt before it updated, but I think that's what happened. I had the burn box you had the burn box in it when it did the second update, which messed it up. So, funny thing about burn boxes, anything Z Automotive, Taser related or whatever. So on the Hellcat, I've got the trunk mounted OBD2 port for the Taser. And the funny thing is it actually pissed off my HP Tuner software. There's some weird things that can happen with that. So yeah, anytime you're doing any updating or anything like that with your car, if you're doing data logs, even data logs for that matter, it would even glitch out a data log. I remove that Taser 100% before I plug in anything HP tuners or allow anything to happen with the ECU, because yeah, it will interfere with the CAN bus signal and can cause all kinds of problems. It almost caused me to brick my ECU in this thing. Lovely experience for sure. I wasn't even thinking about it either. I'm just la 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 la, just playing, you know, just going on about my business. And you would think I would know this kind of stuff, and unfortunately I do. But you know how it is, man. When it's me doing my stuff, I can give the best advice, but I'll be in the middle of a conversation. And that's the other thing. I just wasn't paying attention. I was in the middle of a conversation doing two things at once, and I screwed up. Let's see. Oh, ME412. That's what it is. Sam's saying ME412. I keep forgetting, but yeah, that's the one. I would love to see him introduce something like that. Talking about a mid-engine car. Chrysler already kind of had one. Matthew's saying, dude, I love the channel and you skipped my question. Please respond. Well, what did you put, Matthew? Where is it? What'd you say, bro? During our impromptu hurricane here. Let's see. Oh, on your thing, Matthew, it says that you deleted your question, so you need to put the question back in, brother. Sam saying it will use either a 7-liter variant or of the healthcare platform. I'm guessing that was an autocorrect. Yeah, of the Hellcat motor. That's pretty funny. That new healthcare platform they've got for these cars. I need it. But yeah, Matthew, repost it because it was saying that you deleted it. So anyway, post it back up and we can chat about it for sure. Riff's saying, so I'm about to order some wheels for an 18 in the back and some skiddies in the front. What would you say the best way to go would be? Also, do I have to worry about lug nuts when it comes to certain ones? You do. But listen, if you're going to get a set of 18s, man, just the smart money says buy a set of Bravadas, man. Look, I know they're kind of the cheap go-to, but damn it, they work. They're lightweight. Throw the 305 40, I think is what it is. 305 45 18, whatever it is for the 18s. Run the Bravadas in the rear, throw your set of skinnies up front, and you're good to go. There's no reason to spend a ton of money. And here's the other cool thing: the Bravadas, I think you can use the stock lug nuts on those. So they're an acorn style lug nut as opposed to a shank that is on these the Welds or the Dark Stars. Go that route and you will be a happy camper, man. Trust me. Everybody that I know that runs their cars occasionally or all the time at the drag strip, at these types of power levels, you're good to go with the Bravadas. And like I say, they're inexpensive. Tires are easy to get a hold of, and they work really well. Keep tire pressure around 25, 26. She'll dead hook on a well-prepped track. Send it. You'll have a ball with it. But that's what I would do. Bill Ferguson, is the Hellcat air filter better than the K&N? Yes, by a significant margin it's better. To answer that question, by the way, I don't have the box sitting here. I just went on Amazon and got the filter. In fact, hold please. I'll get you the part number for that air filter. Hang on. Hold please. All right. There's your part number from Amazon. Type in LX3482. MicroStar filter d'air. Anyway, that's what you're going to want to go with. Yeah, the car just went 1054s at 130 miles an hour, 1057, whatever. The car is going 1050s with that air filter in it. I think it cost me $25. So, let's see. Hit me head. Again, a huge bravo Zulu with sharing all your Mopar knowledge. Thank you very much. Looking forward to making some purchases from a Scat Pack on Black Friday and hope Nitrous Outlet has some good sales. Sometimes they do. Every once in a while. You might have to go through Jags to get an actual discount code on them, though. But yes, you will be in good shape with that. Thank you very much. Bruce saying, let's see. Dweech saying, I will say a bill that I ended up going back to the Hellcat filter and took my K&N drop-in out. Yeah, well, here's the thing. So the K&N doesn't flow as well as the stock Mala filter. So there you go. And by the way, if this thing can go 130 miles an hour, keeping in mind that it's on a stock tune for the engine, basically stock timing, if nothing else, and a little bit of extra fuel, it's not going to go any quicker with a K&N. It won't even go any quicker if I take that air filter out of the air box entirely. So yeah, there you go. I have done that experiment over and over again for guys, and they just blows their mind, but it's absolutely true. Christian saying, hey, B. Mason, got to ride in an 807 rear wheel horsepower GT500 last week. Ah, those are fun. Love GT500s. I haven't ridden the Hellcat yet, but man, it's going to have a lot to beat the Shelby. I know it's not stock, but the look and the feel was spot on. I'll tell you this, man, I love me some GT500. It's hard for them to compete really even at significantly elevated power levels. It's hard for them to compete with a Hellcat on a drag strip, mainly because Hellcat's an automatic and you get the benefit of torque multiplication through that 8-speed. However, yeah, GT500, just for being just a brawler on the street, is so much more fun. And I'll tell you something, as a car that if you were to just take the thing out and play with it, the GT500 is, if you had a garage full of cars, the GT500 is the one that you would take out when the rest of the family went on vacation without you. That's the one that you would want to take out and just raise hell with on the street. Everything else is fun, it's fast, whatever, but it's just too refined, man. That GT500 is going to give you a raw, gritty kind of an edge to it that the rest of them just cannot give you. And for that, freaking love those cars. So yeah, on the drag strip, I wouldn't give it the nod just because it's too hard to launch, traction limited issues. If you know how to row gears, they're pretty good, but synchros can be a bit questionable in those transmissions. You really need a solid rebuild on those transmissions with far upgraded synchros to make them work properly. But if you do that, I don't know. I don't like numbers when it comes to GT500s, the older ones anyway, because the numbers don't do the car justice at all. I mean, it's just sin to actually throw numbers the GT500's way. Dial Power saying 362 at 331. That is just nutty how fast that is. Subject 0. I like that. What is more cost effective, a 5.7 with a cam and heads or getting a 6.4? Depends on what you can get the car for. You're still going to be shelling out quite a few shekels to do that cam and to do it the right way on the 5.7. Unfortunately, you will just make the power of a 392 if you're lucky. If it's in the budget, go ahead and save up and get you a car on the used market with the 392. I think you'll be happier, and you're starting off with a little bit better platform to begin with. So that's my 2 cents. Now, that being said, if you can pick up a 5.7 for next to nothing, you know, relatively speaking, of course, then in that case, the 5.7 can be more rewarding to own than the 6.4. And what I mean by that is this: you can, because they're so neutered from the factory, the 5.7, you can go with long tube headers, cat back, and see a solid gain. Throw a cam in the thing. You know, custom grind would be the best way to go, but at that point, a Comp 270 with a ported stock intake, or go with the new Holley intake. These are directions you can go with the car. Stand keep tie bars and collars, and have something that you can actually dial up pretty high as far as RPM, $7 grand-ish. Throw a 370 gear in the back of the thing and get out there and just raise a bunch of hell and have fun with. In that respect, I like the 5.7 more, because then it becomes more of a hobby kit. You can play with it a little bit more and get actual gains and results along the way. And it doesn't work like that with 392. Sorry, but I mean, even when you throw a cam at it, and I should know I'm the guy that, you know, makes custom grind cams, or has, you know, has custom ground cams that have been proven for these cars. My own camshaft grind is it? I mean, all of them are a compromise, and the reality is that if you want something that you can play with, you're going to be making a lot of compromises with the 392, so that you're not killing so much torque down low. Anyway, getting a little bit off topic here, but it depends on what you're really looking for. If you want a project, something you can play with, build up along the way, go with the 5.7. If you want that instant big horsepower hit, go with the 392. Just know that two things. One, no matter what you do, the 5.7, the amount of power you can make with that car, dollar for dollar. You got a limited budget, it's a different story. Matthew just saying, it's like, here it is again. Well, where did it go? Ken, man, thank you, G-Man. Appreciate that. Sorry, I didn't see that pop up. Man, appreciate that very much. Didn't have a question with it, but thank you so much, man. I appreciate the contribution, man. I truly do. Awesome. Let's see. Yeah, very cool. Thank you, sir. Sam's saying, oh, no, Matthew's saying, here it is again, but you didn't finish the question, bro. It just stopped. I got your, it goes here. Anyway, shoot me the question, man. I'd love to visit with you on whatever it is you got a question on. Sam saying, I'm thinking the new Eco Diesel and the Ram and Jeeps will surprise in a year's time as soon as someone figures out how to unlock the ECU. Yeah, get ready for that. That's going to be pretty cool. Anybody that's out there working on the new stuff, those diesels are nutty with how much power you get on. That little diesel in the F-150, I know that, who was it that was at the shop? Anyway, one of the guys that does the piggyback units had one of them in the shop that I was dynoing, and it did really well. Picked up like 80 foot-pounds of torque, like on the hit. Nutty. Bill Ferguson's got all the thumbs up. Thumbs up, Bill. Heavy head. Speaking of maintenance stuff, just an FYI to save some money, Pennzoil Ultra Platinum 0W40 is on sale at Napa online for $5.99 a quart with in-store pickup. So everybody get on that now. That's a smoking deal on that oil. I will be getting on that myself. Thank you for reminding everybody. Heavy head. Appreciate that, bud. Rich saying, I will say I keep going back to the JLT cold air intake just because I like the way it looks and sounds on the Hellcat. Thing I'm worried about is that it covers one of the heat extractors. Yeah, I wouldn't worry so much about that. The thing is with that intake, I mean, you're just not going to pick up any power, but you guys know my thoughts on those types of intakes for these cars. Just go with whatever you want to sound, go with whatever will give you the best sound, basically. If you want something that's really loud, just get the cheapest one you can find and then run the thing around with that thing in the car if you're not worried about power production. You're not going to get any gain at the drag strip. I don't care if the thing picks up anything on the dyno. It's only because the hood's open, you got fans blowing over an open element. If it picks up anything, it's basically because of that. But typically that's not even really the case. At the drag strip, you're not going to pick up anything. Just do it for the theater. Do it for the sound of it. And the JLT works really well with that. Let's see. Subject 0. Do you think the 08 to 14s will be more sought after in the future because they are easier to tune and have less gadgets to fail? I think that a lot of guys gravitate towards those cars mainly because they are easier and they are more simple than the later Apache cars. There is less to fail. As far as being easy to tune, that's debatable. I mean, both of them are about the same, really. Same rules apply. But I will say this, those cars, because the heads don't flow as well, there's a few other things that are involved. They're more fun to hot rod. And the cost to get one isn't that high either. So, yeah, you don't have to get the computer unlocked. So in that respect, they're a little bit easier. But I don't know. I love them. I think they're a lot of fun. And I've never been disappointed with the way that one of those cars run. And they only are inferior, if you even want to use the term, to the later cars, only if you compare them side by side. And even then, I don't know that you're really working within a deficit. Not to mention, I just love the way those engines look when you pop the hood open. They just look tough. So, yeah, they may. In fact, they could end up being more desirable for guys, mainly just from a cost for fun factor point of view. A good, clean version of one of those cars with just a few mods can be a lot of fun. You can make almost the same power with one of those. You'll lose, not on the bottom end, you'll lose torque, but you can still make plenty of horsepower with those earlier 6.1s for sure. Let's see. Sam's saying, I'm thinking there's someone going to be pushing 600 foot-pounds and 300 horsepower of that Eco Diesel probably pretty soon, sooner than later. Let's see. Again, thank you, Ken. I appreciate the contribution to the cause. Hang on a second. Hang on. Wait. Matthew, damn, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate the contribution, man, for sure. I just saw that pop up. And then, man, I truly appreciate it. Didn't have a question or anything to go along with it, but thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, where's your question, Matthew? But thank you so much, man. I do appreciate that, brother. I really do. Somebody's got a contribution of $1.99, but they retracted their question, so it didn't let me know who gave me that. So I appreciate that too. Let's see. Let me get back in here. Sam saying, I saw someone running a sub 9 0 to 60 in a 2020 two-wheel drive Ram Eco diesel in the Rocky Mountains. That'd be pretty cool. I don't know, I like diesels too. Rich saying, so after my Hellcat did that really weird idle for 30 minutes after the whole update fiasco, how much damage do you think it did to the motor? Didn't do any damage to it. It really did sound like a tractor and was idling bad. Yeah, what was probably happening is it was throwing a ton of fuel at it, more than likely. And Nitrous saying it also kept throwing a code saying very high airflow. That's why it was throwing a ton of fuel at it. Just saw that pop up. So yeah, one thing you can do is if you're worried about it at all, do a full capacitive discharge. Now, what does that mean? Well, go to the back of the car, disconnect the battery. Make sure that the terminal can't go back down. I usually take a rag or something, sit it over the terminal. Go into the car, open the car up. Oh, by the way, before you do this, roll your windows down because you don't want to try to open the door and close it if the windows have already gone up. So top tip for you guys, if you ever do anything with your battery, roll your windows down at least a couple of inches so that it's down so we can close the window or close the door, the window doesn't hit the weather stripping. So back to it. Full capacitive discharge. So you disconnected the battery, you're going to get in the car, make sure the light switch is on, you're going to honk the horn, you're going to basically touch everything that possibly can draw electricity. Hit the light switches on the overhead, open the door, close the door, open the door, close the door. Basically, you're going to touch everything, again, that can use some amount of electricity. Honk the horn 3 times. It's not going to honk. There's no electricity. But again, you're dumping anything that could possibly be in a capacitor and let it sit for about 30 seconds to a minute. After you've done all that, hook your battery back up. That will reset basically everything in the car. And that trick works also if your center console controls decide to glitch. This will happen if you're using a taser sometimes. For whatever reason, it freaks out. That's the portion in your dash, or in your console rather, that holds the SRT button, the launch control button, and all of that. That'll cure that glitch also. Again, it's just a thing, and but give that a shot. It'll reset everything like a true hard reset, and you'll be back in business typically. Christian's saying, yeah, man, either a 1314 GT500 or a 6-speed Hellcat will be in my garage shortly after graduation. Thanks for the vids, man. I appreciate you hanging out with us, man. Thank you. Love both of those cars. I think, though, if I were making the choice, if I were getting a manual car, it'd be a GT500. Ken saying, thank you, followed you when you had an SRT 392, traded for a red-eye narrow body with a 309. Then, thank you for all the info. Love to see you driving a factory stock Challenger. Man, I appreciate that. Yes, so she is doing a good job right now. Congrats on the new ride, by the way. And she's doing a great job. 1050s in the heat. I can't really complain about that. I love the 309 gear. Been playing with the tune, getting my driver command torque to where it doesn't make, because putting the gear in the car made it feel a little bit soft. But loving the car with the 309 gear. This is how I would have optioned this car if the 309 would have been available. Found the exact car that I would have bought if I could have at the time. So love it. And for you guys that don't know, my Hellcat is an early release. It's got a birth date of November 19th. So it's the first run of that first group of Hellcats that was released back in 2014. And well, she is a hateful little girl too, because she has always been, since I've owned her anyway, one of the quicker of the Hellcats. So I don't know. She was born on a Thursday, by the way, I believe. So just before everybody was heading out for Thursday, she came out 10 o'clock at night. Hemi Head, I'd like to see a smaller play toy runabout. Would love an independent rear suspension, non-Super Beetle Baja Bug, dude. Now you're talking my language now. But no AC, it's kind of like a deal breaker. Same with a Porsche 914 2-liter. Tried a WRX and it was fun. What interests you? Man, look, I've got a pretty eclectic take, straight line stuff, but the stuff that I like, I love hot hatch type cars. Older GTIs, big fan of front wheel drive hot rods, man. I've always liked the stuff. Manual transmission, front wheel drive stuff, for some reason, just kind of always piques my interest. Hot rodded CRXs with Integra engines, stuff like that. One of my favorite cars of all time, two of them are actually Mopars. These cars that really caught my attention, the Omni GLH and the GLHS and the SRT4. Got a cool backstory on the SRT4 on my end, but I'll spare it for another time. But stuff like that really kind of gets me going. And of course, any truck, 4-wheel drive, 2-wheel drive will catch my interest also. And again, Matthew, thank you very much for the contribution, man. Let me know when you get a question. Love to answer it for you, brother. Lightning Blue Meanie, what up, B Mason? How'd the search for an old Mopar going? Sorry if you answered earlier, just joined. No, thank you, appreciate it. Appreciate you chiming in. I'm a little bit out of the game on that right now. Unless something comes up that just blows my hair back completely, I'm going to step away from looking for anything right now. The biggest issue that I've run into, whether it's a Mopar that I'm looking for or GM, Ford, it doesn't matter. There's some vehicles that folks seem to think that they have hit the jackpot on when they go to sell them, and there's a lot of dishonesty out there, a lot of bait and switch, and after hours upon hours of searching and only being more or less, I don't know, deceived a little bit. Again, it's been kind of a wild ride leading up to this, but probably not going to be moving towards anything just yet. I'm going to do some stuff to the house, and we will circle back around on the topic of me trying to find something new that's old, I guess you could call it, a little bit later. We're going to kind of let the annoyance of the search right now slide by. And the other thing that really annoyed me, so, okay, I'll talk a little bit about a couple of these things, or at least one, for example. We went to go take a look at a car, and it was absolutely not as described. And this is a car on paper, it looked really good, or at least on the screen it looked really good, had a lot of positive things going for it. Get out to take a look at the car, and there is no way in hell this guy knew what he was talking about when he was putting this thing together. The guy talked pretty good over the phone, but in reality, I don't even know if it was the same guy that I was talking to, if I'm being honest. Complete shit show. So anyway, sorry, but it was kind of like the last straw on the deal. Rob is saying, just stopping by to say hi to you. Thanks for the great content, man. Appreciate that. Got the shades on and the peace out. I like it. Sam saying, too bad I can't run 0-40 in any of my vehicles. And then MG saying 0-40 can run in almost anything. Yeah, it actually can. I mean, running a lot of I don't know, bulk 0-40 Mobile 1 and pretty much everything around the house. It's good stuff. Let's see. Sam saying, I need 15 Shell Rotella. That's what we use for break-in oil on all the engines. Best break-in oil ever. It's actually really good track day oil as well for guys that are running closed circuit. Very good on oil on heat dissipation. Matthew saying, my tuner said it is necessary to desensitize my short-term knock sensors. Is this safe? There is the question. Yeah, so let's talk about that. How much desensitized are we talking about? I personally, for my car, I'm only running about 14% of desensitization, if you want to call it that. I'm not really throwing a lot of voltage at my knock sensors, and what that means is, let's say if the knock sensor voltage is 0.5, I'm just going off of cylinder 1 at 6,000 plus RPM is a half a volt. I'm not going in and throwing 2 volts at that number of cells to get 2.5 volts. What I'll do is I base all of my stuff off of a percentage. Some guys will go 20%, Others will go 40%. Where he's going with this is Hemis have a lot of false knock, all right? That's true up to a certain point, but killing the knock sensors, you got to be careful with that, because there are a number of spark modifiers in your tune that will throw timing at the car, and there are even more spark modifiers that will yank timing away. Hot spark modifier is one that's in there. Obviously, the knock sensor sensitivity will be one of your spark modifiers that will pull spark away. Quite a few of those in the tune. What you don't want to do is you don't want to make the mistake of desensitizing the knock sensors so much that if you run into actual knock, you end up causing damage to your engine. And I've seen some tunes, those tuners will go unnamed because I don't narc anybody out, but I've seen guys throw 2-3 volts at them. I've seen the voltage maxed out figuratively, I should say, maxed out on some tunes, on some knock sensor sensitivities, and I don't really play with that. You will have to numb them a little bit to get you out of the range of true false knock, but I never like to go too far past, say, 20% initially, unless I'm really throwing a lot of fuel at the car. But even then, if you're throwing a lot of bad quality fuel at the car, it just means that it's still going to knock with a richer mixture. It's where a lot of people get it wrong, is that richer means it's just not going to detonate. That's absolutely not true at all. If you're running the right octane or quality fuel, you can run the 12.7 to 1 AFR that the car is commanding, which I know blows everybody's mind, but that's the case. You can run that kind of air fuel ratio if you've got strong fuel quality, and if you don't, then you have spark modifiers in there that if they see anything weird, they'll start reeling that timing back. It's timing that stings more than anything else. If you've got bad fuel quality, no amount of timing is going to help you realistically. So what your tuner is telling you is true, but only to a point, and it is never to be used to force the car to not pull any timing due to what the tuner may perceive as false knock. It could be actual knock based on just crappy fuel quality. And again, I go back to my own personal car. Yeah, I've got kind of a crappy tank of gas in it, and I've got to burn some of that out before I go back to the drag strip. But the other side to that is that I've seen bad tanks of gas literally on the dyno. I've even seen bad tanks of E85 on the dyno, for that matter. So the knock sensors saved that car. So yeah, just make sure that you know how much sensitivity is being pulled out, and if that number isn't right off the top of that person's head, find you another tuner. And like I say, 40% is fine. I mean, you'll see some crazy numbers too if you get into aftermarket headers. That's really where you're going to see an issue. Your stock headers, I don't know if you know this, but for the Hellcats, 6.4s particularly, you've got a shorty header in there, but it's wrapped in this clamshell. And the reason why it's wrapped in the clamshell is heat and noise. When you go with an aftermarket header, they just make a lot more noise, and that pisses off knock sensors. In that case, yeah, you might as well throw them in at 40%. Put a tune in it that has known safe values, but just shut up your knock sensors so that they don't freak out because of the extra noise that's going on in the car. But that's the only time you're ever going to see the knock sensor sensitivity ramp that high. Most tuners don't like to go above that anyway, and they typically will try to stay under the 3 volt range on the knock sensor in general. There's another, there's a modifier for that as well. It's a sensitivity multiplier, but most guys just leave that stock and adjust the voltage and call it good. Hopefully that answers the question. Rip's saying, these are the codes my Hellcat threw: P2172, P1, damn, this thing just threw out the whole thing, P1424. Not expecting to go through any of those or anything. It's just crazy how it threw all those after the update. Yeah, a lot of that had to do, some of that might have had to do with the fact that taser was still plugged in. Let's see. David's asking, what up, Professor B? What up, David? How much of a horsepower increase from an Edelbrock intake and a 90mm throttle body can I expect? Man, I wouldn't go around expecting any real numbers out of that. I've seen some good mid-range power out of the Edelbrock intake, but nothing really to write home about. You'd have to go with, I would go with maybe some extrude honing, at least clean that thing up. Some of those castings look like hell. But anyway, I haven't seen any horsepower gains. Again, mid-range looked pretty good, but that intake heat soaks like you would not believe. So I would prefer to see you go with a ported stock intake, and an 84mm Fastman before I would recommend going with the BBK. Crypto saying, sticking with my factory airbox. Thank you for your input. Absolutely, man. It will work best for you. Michael's asking, will you race H-Quinn 2000 after his recent updates are done? I'll race anybody. I don't give a darn who it is. So, yeah. And it doesn't matter. Even if his car beat me, it doesn't matter because he has one of my camshafts in his car that I ground specifically for his car. That cam in his car is a true one-off custom grind that I put together for his car. Gordon saying, what up, Brother B? What up, Gordon? I like it. Got the shades on. Scatbag, do you have a podcast out there? No, I don't. At least not yet. I would like to do one. I just need to get one set up. Lightning Blue, thank you very much. Saying thank you for your great videos and these streams. I'm a Mustang guy, but I love your videos and takes on car stuff. Here's to the cause, man. Cheers to you, brother. Thank you, Lightning. I appreciate it. And I do miss my Lightnings, man. I've had 2 of them, and I had a freaking Sonic Blue one that I wish I never would have gotten rid of because I loved that truck. Let's see. But thank you very much for the contribution to the cause, man. I truly appreciate it. It means a ton to me. There's my Topo Chico fund. Actually, it goes to the tires fund right now. Let's see, Crypto's saying, Michael Marks, that would be a good video in my opinion. Love that guy's Scat Pack. It's good. Scat Pack's pretty strong. Let's see. Xcash saying, I get this funky moldy smell when I turn on my fan in the Challenger. It goes away when I turn the AC button on. I change the cabin air filter, but it still smells. Anybody have this problem? I haven't had that problem personally, but I have heard of it. After a hard rain. I don't know if there was something holding water, but I've heard one other person talking about that. I've never experienced it with my cars though. We're just saying, going back to the hot hatch stuff that you brought up, my first car was a 240 SX, awesome car, which I believe is close to that. And I love that car being along with my Mazda 3-speed. Mazda 3-speeds are a lot of fun. 240 you can't really call a hot hatch because it's rear-wheel drive. But that's also a car that I dearly love. And by the way, they are like prime ready for an LS swap. If any car is like LS swap ready, it's that one. Riff's saying thumbs up all. That's right. Get them thumbs up, fellas. And again, Lightning, thank you very much for the contribution to the cause, man. I truly appreciate that. Onyx is saying some guys are running some Omnis and early front-wheel drive Daytonas at Drag Week this past, running 10s and 11s. So there were a lot of those back in the day, man. So I remember my first car was a Dodge 600 with the 2.2 liter turbo. And so kind of along the same lines, front wheel drive, it's an ES platform, but think of it as a kind of a hot rodded K car. It looked like a little notchback. I actually really like that car. But the thing is that there were a ton of those cars back in the day running mid 11s for sure, and would absolutely put fools on the trailer on the street. It was pretty funny. I remember some street racing back in the day of some guys with Daytonas that had basically thrown the kitchen sink at their setups, 2.5 liter bottom ends, ported heads, bigger turbos, the whole bit, and I mean, would just get out there and scream with those things. So yeah, they're actually out there still to this day, just not in the numbers that they used to be. Australian Gravel saying 15 W40 truck oil is what I run. It's good stuff. Himmy Head saying, Dimitri, I was talking to Dimitri, talking about I had a 91 240 hatchback and loved it. Wouldn't mind getting another one, but stock ones are unicorns and too dang expensive. You better believe it, man. Those things are hell to find. Dimitri's hanging out at a 94. Let's see. Sam saying, man, I really like the sound of those old two-stroke Detroits. So funny thing about two-stroke Detroits, we had an excavator at my uncle's construction company that was running this diesel on it was dragging dirt on a road, basically getting everything stirred up and flattened out. This thing ran at like, I don't know, 2,500 RPM or whatever. It sounded like it was about to float the valves, and it sounded like it was going, it sounded like a pro stock car doing a burnout. I used to love listening to that thing run. That stuff's always fun. Dimitri said, oh, he got his for $500 with only 65,000 miles on the clock, and all it needed was a clutch to be resurfaced. Talking about his 240. Let's see, Rift is asking, is there really any gain with a bigger throttle body on my Hellcat? I'm thinking when I get more boost, it would help. Man, I don't know, dude. We've had some conflicting results with larger throttle bodies on these cars. Is it worth it? A little bit. I'll tell you this. On the NA cars, it does make a difference. On the Hellcat, that blower is going to bring in what it can bring in on its own. I don't know that you're going to see a huge gain with it. If there is anything there, you might be looking at maybe 8 to 10 horsepower and maybe 10 to 12 pound-feet of torque, give or take. Some of the cars get a little bit pissed off. The 17s usually are okay, but the 15s and 16s can get a little bit cantankerous with that. So just be aware of that going into it. But I do know there is a slight increase in power, just a tick, but don't look for like 25 or 30 horsepower out of it. That blower is already in a pretty good place. And keep in mind, there's a lot of 9-second cars running around out there with bone stock, untouched throttle bodies. David saying thank you very much. Lightning Blue meaning Lightning Blue is a reference to my 2017 GT. The color is Lightning Blue. Yeah, just every time I see that, it reminds me of my Sonic Blue Lightning. God, I love that truck. So much fun. Thing would scream. And somewhere buried in my videos, there's an old video of me in that truck with that thing making like 16 pounds of boost. Let's see. Sam saying the Ram SRT 10 is interesting setup. All crew cabs are auto, and all the single cabs are 6-speed. Those would be kind of fun. Shawnee is in. What's up, Sean? Thank you very much. Saying anything cool on this weekend? Nah, nothing yet. I was talking earlier about a tune that I'm working on for the car, but aside from that, not a whole lot really going on just yet. I know you got some stuff going on though, brother. Crypto's saying plug the evap drain. Arthur Wall saying great info as well, Mason. Thank you, Arthur, man. I appreciate that. Again, Shawnee, thank you very much. But yeah, not a whole lot really going on with the car, so yeah, they're filming that show this weekend, so I want to stay as far away from that as I could. Not to mention the heat right now. I mean, I'm doing good collecting data on the car, but I think I'm going to save it for Mopar Fest if I end up going. Robin Hugger saying, thinking of selling my C5 Corvette and getting a 6.1 Hemi Chally with a 6-speed. Haven't test driven one. Will it satisfy my butt dyno the way the Vet does? Thank you, Brian Mason. Well, I'll tell you what, the C5 is you're comparing apples to bananas here. But I had a C5 Z06, but it had quite a bit of work done to it. I'll say this, it's a different driving experience. You're going to want to drive one before you pull the trigger, because driving a manual 6.1 car, lots of torque down low, very strong mid-range, but it's a big car and it's heavy, so you're going to feel the weight of the car a little bit more. I would say that it will, but it's going to satisfy the butt dyno in a completely different way. And if you're looking to just make a change for change's sake, then yeah, I think that car will be a lot of fun for you. I really like the manual 6.1s and 6.4s. So for what it's worth, and I've had the Vets and some other cars that are more sporting in nature, and I find that the difference in driving feel is how do I put this? I don't know. It's a fun experience. So, but drive one first and make that determination on your own. Oh, Shawnee's saying, got lucky. His 309 gears are quiet as a mouse. Mine are a little bit noisy, but every gear that I've had in any Mopar that I've ever driven has been noisy. So there's that. But yeah, no, I'm having a ball with the 309s, and I really think it should have been a factory option with the Hellcat. Can't understand why they're not. But they are now with the red eye. Go figure. Let's see. Rift saying, one of the codes of my Hellcat 3 actually came up on my phone as implausible engine torque, which I thought was hilarious just because of the word implausible. Yeah, that is when you have your airflow rating is throwing your expected torque number completely off. And that's what that is, more than likely. Shawnee's saying, track mode shifts pretty crispy. You know, I need to take mine out. I keep forgetting to do this. I never run my car in track mode, by the way, guys. I just don't. But with the torque management settings, I need to run my car and see what it's going to act like with the car in track mode. A little bit crisper shifts, but my car, I don't know. I've never had any positive experience with the cars in track mode. I always run mine in sport. Let's see. Ferocious 1980, I like that. Saying I have had pretty nice collection so far. First car, 87 Monte Carlo Luxury Sport with a 305 4-barrel, and then a 95 240 SX, then a 2004 Dodge Rumblebee. All fun so far. Then a 2006 Magnum SRT8, and now a 2017 Scat Pack. That Magnum SRT8, if you can find that and get that one back, that is a car that is going to be very, very desirable at some point in the future. It is the only platform that they don't still make, and it is the only platform, to be honest with you guys, if I were to pick up another Mopar, that is what I would be looking for. I love the 300s, but for my money, a Magnum SRT8 would be where it's at. Sean's saying he's going to try out he's talking about his track setting in the quarter mile. Let me know how it goes, brother. Rip is saying, there's a guy at the track with a stock Hellcat and 17s in the back with front skinnies, and he actually picked up a bit of time by using 109. If he's using MS 109, it's actually 104. Higher oxygen content. That fuel does pretty good with these cars, but a little dab will do you. Don't try to run 100%. At least my car got pissed with Sunoco 104 when I went a little too aggressive with the mix. Just likes a little bit, likes a little bit more if I'm using 100 octane. Actually, my car really likes 100 octane, but yeah, I got a little cantankerous with that 104 for sure. But yeah, no, they do pick up a little bit. And again, it's just how the tune in these cars operates. It does kind of hang on those NOx sensors. So definitely something to think about when you're talking about going with that smaller pulley, messing with the NOx sensors. Just remember that the car's stock hang on the NOx sensors pretty hard. I already thrown quite a bit of timing at the car. Let's see, Sam Grable, would you recommend anything lower than 309, such as 290s? Not really. And realistically, I mean, there's nothing, if you're talking about the Mopar stuff, there's just not any, they're non-serviceable gears. So you're stuck with whatever the ZF gear is. It's either 309, 262 for the Hellcats, or 370 or 392s for manual cars and for the NA stuff. Let's see. Hang on, I lost it here. Rip is saying, honestly, Robin, it's saying I have a 2009 6B SRT8 Challenger with a Pro Charger on it and a C5 Corvette, and I will say the C5 seems more peppier. That's very common to say. Because it's probably true, especially based on weight. It goes on to say, it just feels like my stock C5 Corvette is faster. I'm not saying it is, just feels that way, and it handles a lot better, even though my 6.1 has coilovers and strut tire brace. And Shawnee's saying manual 392 is a blast on the street, not as much fun on the strip. Yeah, the big thing is, you got to remember with these Mopars, you're dealing with a lot of mass, and what makes a car feel peppy isn't horsepower to weight. It's torque to weight, and that's really where the Vette shines. The Vette's very lightweight, compared to these things. So any amount of power that it makes down low is going to make it seem a little bit peppier. Love Corvettes, but it's just a different driving experience than when you've got one of these barges like we've got over here. Himmy Ahead is asking, when doing a tune, have you ever had the normal sport button set so it's mostly stock in the normal mode, but the full engine trans tune kicks in at sport mode? You can do that. I typically keep everything very separate. I keep normal in more of a normal range. Basically I keep everything fairly normal with line pressures and things like that. You'd be surprised. There's not a lot of variation within those. It doesn't take much to get a big change in the way the car feels. But I have put tunes together where the normal tune is basically just super normal, super laid back, and then have played with sport and track, basically just making them very aggressive. And what's funny is that my car gets real antsy, doesn't really like a lot of changes with changes to trans tunes. Go figure. But each one of these is a little bit different. I will say that. Ferocious saying, I still have the Magnum, but the 2008 will be the most desirable. Yes, it will be. If I can pick one of those up and hide it in a storage unit for a while. Do a couple of little nasty mods to it, send her out into the world. Himmy Head saying, no kidding about the Magnum SRT8s. They are holding value and hard to find. Very cool rides, man. I love them. David saying, I have the 06 Magnum RT all-wheel drive. That's also a very cool car. Mr. PD Foreman. Oh, PD Foreman's in saying, SRT 392 8-speed auto, thinking about switching to a manual. The same 392 or Hellcat. I think it would just make for an all-around more fun driving experience. I don't race it, just street powder. If it's me in that respect, I would go 392 with a manual because you will be getting a transmission with a much more aggressive first gear, and they're just a little bit snappier. The 392 with a 6-speed manual just it fits that car better. The Hellcats get the Viper 6-speed, which has got a 226 or 228, whatever it is, first gear, and they're just sluggish out of the hole, man. I just never really liked driving those cars. It's not that I don't like driving it. It just the car, you've got to have a considerable amount more power in that car to make that transmission really feel properly peppy. So, but the 392 with a manual, it's a lot of fun to drive, and it's more of a muscle car feel than anything else. So, and really with the Hellcat, there's nothing you can do. You can throw a 392 gear in with that 6-speed, but it already comes with a 370, so there's not that big of a difference. But anything to help that first gear liven up is a big help for the Hellcat. Let's see, and I just think the 392 with the 6-speed is more fun on the street. Rob was saying thank you to Dimitri. Rich saying, I was thinking about getting an LS3 motor for my C5 instead of selling it. I feel like I could do that for very little money, especially for an LX engines go for. And then asking, and then he's asking, are they ever coming back and making the 300 in the States? I don't know. I haven't seen any plans for that. Other markets get it, and other markets get it with a 6.4. We just don't get it here. So there's that. But man, I got to tell you, yeah, go LS3 for an upgrade for the C5. I think you'd have a lot of fun with it, and it opens up some doors for you as well. Mainly in that it's an LS3. I mean, it's by its own nature, it's just a better setup than even the LS6. It makes more power, a lot more torque, and if it ever breaks, it's super. Well, I say super cheap to fix. It's really not cheap, but parts are very easy, and they're easy to work on. Sam saying, my 2015 Ram 3500 goes into an odd high idle if I leave it idle for longer than 50 minutes. It's probably, there's a couple of reasons why it could possibly do that. Saying this is on a 90-degree day. I'd have to go poke around in the tune and see why that would be the case, but it might be kicking up idle to bump up oil pressure. The only thing I could possibly think of. Rip is saying, back to the 6.1 with a manual. I think they just do not have enough torque down low to feel good with that Man, I don't know. I've had a lot of fun with them. You know, you can get a little bit spoiled with a 6.4 with the amount of torque that they do make down low, but I don't know. The 6.1 just has a bit more of a raw feel to it. So, yeah, they are down in torque, but they're not down in fun, that's for sure. Let's see. But yeah, I would look at, talking back to Sam, going back in one, yeah, I don't know why, again, I don't know why it would do that unless there is a provision in there for oil pressure or oil temperature or something like that. That's the only reason why it would do that. Ferocious is saying, is there a 2008 Magnum SRT8? Oh, there is one on for 28 grand right now if you want to make good on your storage investment. No kidding, right? Yeah, 28 grand for that thing. Can you believe it? But yeah, he's talking about, we were talking about Magnums earlier, and yeah, $28,000, and that thing's going to hold its value for a while. Onyx is saying that he saw a Sonic Blue Lightning on the way to work, or he sees one every day. The guy is mid-40s, and he wanted something other than a Mustang. Very clean truck. My Sonic Blue Lightning is in England now, of all places. Shawnee is saying that his 2016 Hellcat idles a little rough on the start. Cool, sounds like a cam. How does your car run when it's dead cold? All of them do that. They all have a little bit of a chop when they're ice cold. And the reason for that is because it's before they go into closed loop and they are throwing a little bit more fuel at it for the warm up. And that extra fuel ticks up as the car gets warmer. You can actually hear it calm down. And it's kind of funny because the timing's a bit retarded too. So you hear the real tinny sound of the exhaust going through. And it gets to, I think it's 150 degrees, and everything will kind of start to chill out a little bit basically in the tune, and it'll quiet up. But yeah, it'll smooth out a little bit. My 392 had a distinct lope to it, and this one does too. A little bit at idle. Sometimes they're just, it's kind of cool. I love that. Let's see. Rips is saying, does it have something to do with the manifold on the 6.4s that make it have better low-end torque? Yeah, it's the manifold and it's the cam profile. It is a completely different cam profile that's in the 6.1s. 6.1s actually have kind of a performance-style oriented camshaft. It's got a tighter lobe separation angle than the 6.4s. The 6.4s have like a 121-degree lobe separation angle. Lobes are, by comparison, I want to say it's about the same duration, but it's a bunch more lift on the 6.4s. So, yeah, quite a bit of a difference there when it comes to the cam and how they play together with that short runner intake or variable geometry intake, I should say. Sam's asking, I wonder what version of the Magnum will be worth more, the SRT6 or the SRT8 for sure. Gordon's checking in. So I've been seeing these cars up north in the colder temperatures running 1180-ish, but I've always figured further north, thinner air, so less power. I hope my car will run close to that in the cool. It probably will, but for the most part, it depends on where in the north that they are, because north but by the coast means that you're getting better air sooner than us. Dimitri's asking, do they make an SRT6 for the Magnum? I know they made the 6, but it's going to be worth less than the 8, though, for sure. But we shall see. You'll have to find that one out on your own. No one Dodge, they probably did an SRT6 version of something. They had the SRT6. The SRT6 was actually the Crossfire SRT6, which was the Mercedes SL350 or something like that, just with a rebody. That's the true SRT6. Ferocious is saying, I can't wait for the new Corvette. Can't wait to own the wide body Charger even more. Absolutely. Very sweet car, by the way. Looking forward to that myself. Talking about can't wait to rent the new Corvette. Yeah, me too. Gordon saying, got to get some tires first, though. Absolutely. Hardest thing on these tires to keep on the back of are tires, man. I'm going through tires like you wouldn't believe. And then David saying the SRT6 was a Crossfire, I believe. Yes, it was. I saw one for sale the other day, too, which was kind of trippy. Car didn't really take off, but I always kind of like those things. SRT6 was the supercharged 3.5 liter is what they had in those. But Yeah, but getting back to it, you know, some of the things that I've been doing in my car, just kind of, again, playing around with the tune, seeing what the car likes and what it doesn't like, has not been to the dyno, though. That's been the big question, too, is when's it going to go to the dyno? I don't know that it will. I don't really have a need for a dyno per se just yet. Where it would be good to have it on the dyno, though, would be to load test it. And in load testing, that would allow me to adjust fuel trims a little bit. You know, basically it's amount of fuel per duty cycle, so to speak. That might be a good thing to have it on there for. Typically, you'll lean them out a little bit, but I don't know. The car seems to be doing pretty well. I haven't checked it with a wideband or anything else. I've got an old LM1. I just haven't decided to drill the hole and install it. It just hasn't really needed, it hasn't been a thing, honestly. So, you know, realistically, as it sits, it's kind of hard to justify throwing a whole lot at the car right now just because I haven't had a chance to run it in cool weather yet. And I think the car's got a low 20 in it, certainly a 20. I just don't know how deep in the 20s it'll get. And the other question has been, what about weight? Am I doing anything about weight loss with the car? And so far, I haven't done anything other than the rear seat delete. Now, I'll take the speaker box out when I go to the drag strip, but a lot of times it's just because I've got other crap in the back of the car. But I haven't really done anything with the car in terms of that. I haven't removed the passenger seat or anything like that. And it still has the stock bumper supports in the car. And then the car, when it goes across the scales, is, what is it, 4440 with me in it. The way that it sits right now with about half a tank of gas. So, you know, what else can I do to the car? I can do the lightweight bumper supports. That'll shave about 40 pounds off of it. Sway bar will save a little bit of weight, but man, I've got to be really motivated to get that thing that deep as far as, you know, removing parts of my car that might be necessary in a crash. I don't know. It's still a street car. Weird stuff happens on the street. So I'm probably not going to get too aggressive with weight savings, but I don't know. You never know. I've been toying around with some ideas. Just haven't really decided to go forward with it. And again, those ideas are the lightweight bumper supports and just taking out the passenger seat. Passenger seat's easy. Bumper supports, I don't know. I might have to be convinced of that. Let's see. Ferocious is asking, has anybody seen the 03 to 06 Dodge Ram models with those tall Superbird spoilers and not the ones that came on the Daytona trucks? Man, I've seen those, but actually I see those kind of regularly down here in Texas. Shawnee's asking, for what you know of my car, what will it run at sea level? 1049, let's do some serious bench racing. Where would your car run at sea level right now? My car at sea level with 0 DA would probably be deep in the 1030s somewhere. I just don't know where exactly. 1035, 1036 wouldn't blow my mind. Your car, yeah, I mean, with what you've done to it, it'd be right there with mine. I wouldn't think it'd be much slower. So, yeah, I mean, for sure, 40s with that 309 gear should be like a foregone conclusion. You should probably be expecting deeper than a 49. I would say 42. You'd be knocking on 30's door for sure, no doubt about it. And then with a trans tune, you'd be a little bit deeper than that. You've got a little bit more weight pulled out of your car than I do. So maybe half a tenth's worth, maybe, 200s, 300s worth at the least. Somewhere in that range would be my guess. Rip's saying, I think they will try removing the passenger seat, back seats, and the Harman Kardon system next runs. I think you should. Because you will be removing weight, which is always a good thing. It doesn't expect much, but I'll give it a try. You might be surprised. I mean, I've never, I'll take it back. I have run my car in full street trim, but on the drag pack, I didn't really see much of a difference, but I don't know. It made me feel good. I am going to be putting everything back in the car, though, because I think we might be doing a road trip at some point, and I like my tunes, and I like them loud. Sam saying, I was thinking about the caliper. The Caliber had both SRT4 and SRT6 versions, with the SRT6 being very rare. That might have been the case. I think I remember those too. Gordon saying, I want to say it's New York area because it was on the RT Lives channel about stock Charger Scat running the 11s. Yeah, they're at sea level up there, bro. That's it. Is it Atco? Somebody will correct me on that. But yeah, up there they've got low DA and low altitude for sure. Let's see. Rip's saying, I just had to pull the Hellcat into the garage for my girlfriend, so I hate to say it, but I do not trust her pulling in the next to the other Challenger. I understand that completely. Let's see. Robin is saying, my Magnum RT all-wheel drive has been on sale for months with barely a phone call. Is there a particular reason? I always thought it would be one of the coolest models to own and easy to resell. Whew. Without seeing the car, I can't tell you exactly why nobody would want it in particular. RT all-wheel drive is actually a really nice car, so I don't know why that is. Depends on how you're marketing the car as well. So I would look into that. If it's a clean car, it should sell pretty quickly. Let's see. Shawnee's saying, you've got a better battery. Oh, that should help. Wait a little bit. I'll do that battery and bumper sports in the next 6 months. Yeah, the battery, I actually really like the battery. But yeah, I keep forgetting about that. It's one of those easily forgettable things. I think it saved like 20 pounds out of the car. Definitely recommend it. And so far, mine's proven to be trouble-free, that Archangel. So yeah, for sure. But yeah, do the battery. I think you'll like that a lot. DSRT's I'll say, what up, B? Quick question. I removed my blower lid, and now when the car is up in temperature, it drops boost at wide open throttle. Could it be a damaged lid gasket? Yes, it can. Absolutely. It can absolutely be a bad gasket. Depending on how much boost it's dropping too. But yeah, for sure a bad lid gasket can cause that. Sam saying those Rams are Rumblebees. Yes, they are. Ferocious is checking in with Robin on his car. Conducting a little business on the channel. I like it. Rip's saying, if they can make an all-wheel drive Hellcat Challenger or Charger, I think that would be really cool. A lot of people thought that the Demon was actually going to be an all-wheel drive car. In fact, there was a lot of speculation, and I was one of those honks that was saying that it'd be kind of cool if it was. But it ended up obviously not being an all-wheel drive. But it would have been sweet if it was. Steven saying, I passed a cop doing a $120, took back roads. They knew where I went. Made a wrong turn, caught up to me while I was cooling down. He said, where are you going so fast? I said, what are you talking about, officer? I already lived that one before. Rip's saying, so I forgot what they're called. I think they're called blower plates. The things that go between the heads and the blower, are they worth it? Okay, so here's the thing. Do they lower the temperature of the blower? Yeah, maybe. Do they add power? No, not that I can tell. I'll tell you one thing. At the drag strip, I have not seen any gain in mile an hour or any drop in ET by using them. But I don't, that is not to say that I think that they're a waste. I just haven't seen anything come from them. If you're running on a stock boost car, that said, if you're running a car with a much more aggressive pulley ratio, it may help, but I don't know by how much. So I don't run them on my car. Hell, I'm not even running catch cans on my car yet, which reminds me I need to order a set of catch cans. Anyway, yes, they do work, but does that drop in temperature translate into a drop in ET or an increase in mile an hour? Hate to say it, but so far as I can tell, nothing on that one. Alex Garcia, you think they're going to make a Charger red eye? Yes, I do. Expect that for 2021. DSRT, thanks, it dropped from 15 pounds to 10. Yes, probably a bad gasket. May not see it under vacuum, but it may be pushing the gasket under boost. Rip is saying, supposedly they help with boost blow-by. I don't even know what that is supposed to mean. If you look at how the blower just bolts to the heads, just like an intake manifold, I don't know how that's supposed. If there's boost there, it's going to go into the head. It's going to go towards the area of lower pressure. If there's boost, it's going to go into the cylinder. So their claims of that sound like snake oil to me, and it's because of claims like that I can't buy one. I can't buy into it, and I can't put them on my car. That's again the aftermarket kind of over-promising and under-delivering. Ferocious saying, I still can't believe they dropped the ball on the Dart. Those should have been a V8 special option limited run. They should have done something else with the Dart. But unfortunately, you know, shoulda, coulda, and woulda, all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, I agree with you, man. Alex is asking, also, if I get a Challenger Red Eye, should I get the 308 gear upgrade? How much faster would it make it, or reduce top speed? I don't know that you would see a reduction by going with a 309 in top speed, and on the drag strip, it will definitely help it. But if you're not taking the car to the drag strip, you might not really ever notice the benefit of having a 309 gear. So if you're not taking the car to the drag strip, I don't know that you would notice a huge difference initially until you run up against somebody with a 309 gear car. And at that point, you might notice it pretty quickly. I can tell you that my experience with the Demon, with it also having the 309 gear, that car just seems happy all the time. So, I'm not saying that a stock Hellcat doesn't, but by going to the Red Eye with a 309 gear, you get an improved driver demand torque profile in your tune. The car just freaking feels spirited. It just feels fun, where the stock Hellcat, I mean, it does, but you got to remember that the Hellcat, Red Eye, doesn't matter, even the Demon for that matter, you're starting off life under partial throttle. I mean, all vehicles start, you know, at partial throttle, and you're driving the thing around at partial throttle a lot. When you tip into the throttle, you got to remember that you've got less power than a 6.4 does until you get the thing into 2 to 3 pounds of boost. You need the extra gear to drag your car along, and that's why I like the 309. You get the thing into boost, and it really livens up. Go with the 309 gear unless, and this is my last caveat here, but unless you plan on modifying that car, and I mean really modifying the car, we're talking significant changes in pulley ratio, going to E85 and all that route, then go with the 262. You'll be better off if you're going to throw basically enough power at the car to get, you know, say around 1,000 horsepower at the crank. That's kind of the tipping point. Anything less than, say, 950 to the rear, to the crank, that, you know, let's say 800 horsepower to the rear wheels on a Mustang dyno, give or take. Go with a 309. Anything more than that, go with 262. See, Rift is asking, if I do get the JLT cold air intake for my Hellcat, would it be okay to leave the heat extractor rain cover off? Yeah, I guess so. Can't hurt anything. The reason I ask is I know that's a low pressure area. It is a low pressure area. You're actually dragging air out of the hood. You're not feeding air into that filter from that area. So I think JLT recommends that cover on there, not really for rain. It's actually because it is a low pressure area. So, but I don't know. I've seen guys running both ways, and it hasn't made a difference in the mile an hour that the car runs. So again, I don't think it really matters. Let's see. DSRT saying, "New man, bro. Got the arm pump. I like it." Say thanks again, bro. Thank you, D. Rob was saying, oh, he's talking about his Magnum, saying it's listed at 79 Hundo Canadian. The only thing not stock are the wheels because it didn't come with factory rims. Mileage isn't bad, and the car is clean. You never know, man. It could be the wheels that are turning people off. I mean, you have to remember that wheels are a very subjective thing. What I like, you might hate. So that might be something that's going on there. Why they haven't done that. Let's see. Let's see. Shawnee, I have the new idler pulleys coming. Very nice. How much time should I set aside to do them? Was that a hard change out? It wasn't hard, although I did absolutely donate some skin to the cause. Figure a good evening at it, say 3 hours if you're taking your time. Just remember to chase your threads with brake cleaner. It's very important that you do that, and you'll be in pretty good shape. It'll drastically reduce the amount of time that it'll take to work on that thing. Get you some blue Loctite. The paste is what I like to use. Use it sparingly, and you will be in good shape. Alex is saying, yeah, I think this roasted tires even more. Yeah, I mean, on the street, for sure. For sure it could. Sam is saying, so you can't swap axles and diff gear sets on the LX platform? You can. You just have to use already developed LX set of gears for the car. So what that means is you've got to use like the 230 millimeter gear for the 2015 and up cars. And the G-Trag rear ends for the earlier cars. I think the G-Trag, though, I believe those are serviceable, and I'll take that a step farther. I think you can even get drive shafts from DSS that are already set up for 2015 cars running a modified G-Trag rear end. So, and I think you can also get the older cars with the newer rear end. So there's some benefits to going back and forth. I have to check with them on that. I know they offer some pretty quirky swap and change out gear sets or drive shafts for different gear sets. But no, the ZF gear is a non-serviceable gear 100%, unfortunately, which is silly. Rip is saying, so I have $1,600 to spend on my Hellcat right now. So far, I have a one-piece drive shaft, diff brace, and 20-inch Mickey Thompson drag radials. What do you think I should get? $1,600, I would say. Oh, he's saying I just want to be able to run in the 10s every time. Says I guess I can go to $2,000 to spend right now. Just want to run 10s, like I said. And this is out of his Hellcat, saying that he's run a 10.9 once, and pretty much every other run has been an 11.1. Tune for sure will get you where you need to be on that. That's probably where I would go if warranty is a question on that. I would say hold out for a little bit better air. For one thing, that's free. But the other thing is, I really wouldn't jump at, I wouldn't really jump at throwing parts or anything else at the car just yet. TBD makes a good set of idler pulleys. So you've got that option available to you. But again, that's what Sean was talking about just a few minutes ago. That's a maybe for me, but realistically, a trans tune would go a lot farther on your car, and that would kind of put you right in that wheelhouse. It'll make the car a bit more lively as well to drive, just because you can play with that throttle setting. Sam Grable has asked a good question. Can you live axle swap a Hellcat? I believe you can. I don't know of anybody that's done it, but I mean, it's just fabrication work at that point. It just takes somebody coming out with a setup. I know that all of the drag pack cars are live axle. So there's that to consider. I don't know what all went into those cars to get them in that position, but just mimic a drag pack car and you'd be in pretty good shape. They use Curry 9-inch rear ends in those cars. Alex is asking, what do you think of nitrous on a Hellcat? I mean, it works great. It works really well. I just would caution a little bit on that. I wouldn't go nutty with a bunch of nitrous on a Hellcat, but a lot of guys run it. Keep the shot kind of low, and I would say somewhere in the 100 horsepower range, and I think you'll be in pretty good shape. And the same rules apply. Progressive controller, nitrous outlet system. Be careful with the setup and get you a set of larger injectors just to cover you on the backside. I'd say FIC 127s just to have the extra capacity. But yeah, you can absolutely run nitrous with these things and not have any issues whatsoever. A lot of people do. Let's see. Rich saying, I heard the new Hellcats with the 717 horsepower are just going to higher RPMs. I haven't seen them on a dyno, but it could be the case. They could be turning them just slightly higher. All the Hellcats benefit from just a slightly higher shift point. I can tell you that for sure. Oh, he's saying basically they didn't do anything other than that. No, he's talking about they did not do much of anything to the motor other than let it shift at higher RPM. Don't know if I'm right about that. I don't know. I haven't heard anything on that. But again, to that point, slightly higher shift points, these cars love. And really, the only issue with the shift point being as low as it is has nothing to do with the short block at all. It has more to do with the supercharger RPM than anything else. Sean E is saying new personal best 0 to 60 at 2.8 seconds. Very nice. That was with a 157 60 foot. I'm not sure the car has any more in it. Didn't you run like a 2.7? Yes, I did. That is quick. Good night, Brian. A long day hitting the rack. Good seeing you. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate you hanging out with us. Yeah, I think mine's quickest is a 2.7, but that's in ridiculously good air and really good track prep. But yeah, anything in the twos is freaking screaming for sure. Rift is saying, which would be a good case for transmission tuning? Any time is a good time for transmission tuning. Let's see. Sam saying, so you could fit a Ford 9-inch under one of these LX cars? Yeah, I believe they do. They run, it's a Curry unit that they run, and I believe there's some fabrication that they do with some mounting points. Obviously, I believe it's a 4-link setup that they use with that Curry. Rift is saying, I know you're going to hate me for this, but I'm still going to go with the 285 pulley, even though we only have 91 octane here in California. I'll let you know how it works out. So it'll either work out for me or you can use me as an example. Nah, don't worry about it, man. You'll be good. And a safe tune will be fine. I'm just saying that you can't get as much out of the car. Don't get greedy. Keep your can of Boostain with you at all times. I think you'll be in good shape. But again, please don't get greedy with it, especially with 91 octane, because I know what these tunes are up to in stock cars. I know how they act with stock cars, and I can tell you this straight away. Just with the amount of knock retard that stock cars get, which is not uncommon to see 2.5 to 3 degrees of knock retard, you can only imagine, and that's with stock timing on solid 93 octane, you can only imagine what a 285 would do on 91 if you're not running a solid fuel. So just keep that in the back of your mind, brother. Alex is saying, thanks for answering my questions. Going with the stock gear. I'm calling night B. See you later, brother. See you, Alex. Thanks for hanging out with us. Sam saying, stop giving me ideas. I like it. That's what I'm here for, man. I'm an idea generating entity, man. Rick is saying, is there a difference between what you can do with a 6-speed and what you can do with an automatic when it comes to pulleys? Not at all. They're both the same. No difference whatsoever. Main difference is just how they're going to perform at the drag strip. And it also depends on what you're doing with the car too. If you're, the tune is based around what the intended use of the vehicle is going to be. If the car's never going to see any drag strip use, if you're doing a lot of roll racing, that's going to be one type of a tune, especially if you're doing a lot of half-mile and mile events. Obviously, there's going to be a different tune that goes along with that. It's going to depend on fuel. It's going to depend on a lot of stuff. So, yeah, and you'd be shocked, guys. By the way, there's quite a few customers that roll through that are not interested at all in how much horsepower a tune will give them. They're significantly more interested in just the driving experience, throttle sensitivity, transmission tuning, making the car just more aggressive in everything, in all aspects under wide open throttle. Those are the guys that are usually the most particular about transmission tuning, myself included, by the way. Let's see. Sam's asking, so a Ford 9-inch with 290s under an 8-speed Hellcat. You could do it. Who was it? Who the hell makes it? DSS makes a 9-inch independent rear kit, I believe. You can put whatever kind of gears you want in that thing. I mean, whatever you want. Dimitri's saying, I know one thing when it comes to 6-speeds, it definitely has a lot more wheel hop. It can. It can. You got to really watch air pressure with those cars, too. These cars, anyway. A lot of guys try to run lower air pressure, and the problem with that is that the tire, instead of having a flat contact patch, will cup. And so what happens is you really only have the weight on the outside of the patch. And I've done patch testing, and really anything under 32 psi, it really pisses off. Even drag radials. Obviously, we're talking on the street, not on a prepared track, but yeah, when you do pattern testing on these cars, it's pretty interesting where that tire pressure lies. And sometimes the guys with the 6-speeds will actually run a little bit too low of an air pressure, and it will make them hop like crazy. And the Hellcats are even worse because the first gear is so freaking ridiculous. We can do like 60 miles an hour in first gear of those cars. Let's see, Rich saying my 2008 automatic SRT8 Challenger had no wheel hop at all on my 09 SRT 6-speed. Seems like I can't fix the wheel hop. Kind of a common issue there. Diff brakes, trailing arms, that's all I can think of. Also, well, shoot, I don't know. 08 and 09, not a big difference there in sizes of tires. But yeah, check your tire pressure. Don't run anything less than 32, 35. I run all of mine on the street at typically 33. Rip saying, how much better are the Mickey Thompson R wheels compared to the ET Streets? Mickey Thompson, I guess you're talking about ET Street R's versus ET Street SS. They're similar. I can tell you that the ET Street SS, if that's where you were going with that, the ET Street SS is a bit messier at the drag strip because it does have a tread pattern. You'll take some chunks off of your treads, that'll cause tire boogers, but they both hook very well. I can tell you that for sure. But hang on just a second, guys. Let me look at something here. Well, guys, we are coming up on about an hour and 45 minutes. I am about to check out. I want to thank everybody for coming on, and thank everybody for the contributions to the cause. Oh, wait, Riff's got another question. Says, I know ever since I got Mickey Thompson tires compared to the stock tires, I can finally hook on the street. Yeah, that's a big deal. Being able to actually hook is, I think, more of a safety thing when you're having this much power. Even if it's just the 6.1, 5.7, they both make enough torque to light the tires up at will. So, yeah, having anything on the back of those cars is, I think, like I say, I run my 392 around. I ran that on drag radials exclusively. Same with this thing. Riff got the arms up, got the thumb. I like it. But I'm going to be checking out here pretty soon. Hope you guys have a fantastic night. Oh, wait, Proton's asking, I have a regular 6.1 with a Hellcat lifters fit like the stock lifters are. Will I need to modify it? You can run Hellcat lifters. Stock length, I believe everything's the same as far as length, dimensions. Everything else is just a better lifter all the way around. The bearings are going to be better than what is in your 6.1, but aside from that, there won't be any difference in functionality. So if you're doing it because you're putting a cam in the car and you plan on turning some RPM, that's the only time I would suggest going with the Hellcat lifters for your combination. But unless you're doing that, or you're doing a complete engine refresh, it won't really be necessary. If you feel like you've got a lifter possibly going out, obviously do the entire set, do the entire kit, but you should be good, but don't expect it to really perform any differently unless you're doing it for a specific reason. Rip is saying, I still plan on coming to your area sometime and running against you, brother. Anytime, man. I would love to. But guys, that is going to wrap it up this evening. I hope all y'all have an excellent Sunday ahead of you. And without saying anything else, that is a wrap. Y'all have a great one. Thanks again, and adios.